the Spade Kingdom arc. This is an arc I want to talk about for a very long time. However, I felt like it would have been best to talk about after the arc finished, as it would give me enough time for me to process everything that happened and not be biased with the latest chapters, and of course to not miss out on anything about this arc. As if I was to talk about this arc before it ended, I would have probably missed a lot of really amazing and pretty disappointing parts of this arc. So I waited for this arc to finish, and now that it has, I can talk about the arc's entirety. Talk about everything, the very beginning of the arc all the way to its conclusion. So, make sure to grab something to eat, like popcorn, something, right? Grab something to eat, because this will be a very, very long video, as I will be talking about everything that happened within this arc, okay? And by everything, I literally mean everything, okay? Starting from when the arc began all the way to its conclusion. So, without further ado, let's go on this video. The Spade Invasion. Now, I bet you guys are probably going to ask me, if you said you're going to start at the beginning, why not talking about Asta and Nacht's training? Well, the reason why I'm not talking about that right now is because I'm planning to leave that for a future section of this video where I go over a scene, and Asta's training is going to be very vital for me to explaining what is happening within that scene, and of course my thoughts on that scene when I read it, right? So that's most of the reason why. But going back into the Spade Invasion bit, I really like the beginning, as we get to see prior characters that I haven't seen in a while show up in this arc. We get to see, Sally and the other two people who are always with her. I forgot their names, but there's pretty much the guy who uses space magic and the other one who uses zombie reanimation magic. And of course, we get to see a character which up until this point was an anime-only character, but now he has become a fully canon character within the Black Clover manga, which is the scientist that was with Sally within the anime, right? He finally becomes a full-on character within the Black Clover manga. And you get to see Seke, which honestly, when I saw Seke, I was like, wait, what's Seke doing here? Like, it makes no sense. But then, you can find out the reason as to why Seke is actually within the Spade Kingdom arc Rebellion, right? Why he is in this arc. And couldn't find out the reason is because the king told him to go, because he still thinks that Seke is, captain level, right? Or vice captain level. He still thinks that Seke is, that strong, but the other characters clearly don't buy that, and they told Seke to be a sacrifice within this arc, which honestly, Seke has a really amazing moment later on within this arc, which honestly I can't wait to talk about that scene, because it's so amazing. I really like the character development that they give to Seke, which there's definitely something that I have to praise for Black Clover, but we'll get into later on within the video. But pretty much you get to see Nacht's plan going into motion. You get to see the Spade Resistance, the Spade Rebellion team, where, it makes sense for them to be there. It makes sense, as after all, they are oppressing the Dark Triad. They do not agree with what the Dark Triad is, doing. And it makes sense, as after all, after the time skip, we get to see firsthand what the Dark Triad did to its civilians. It pretty much made the civilians be tools, right? He turned them into tools. People who, he turned them into people who can, power the machines and stuff like that, right? And the Spade Kingdom citizens, they did not accept that at all. And, again, it makes sense as to why. But the reason why they were there is because this goes into Nacht's plan. The Spade Resistance, they were there as a decoy to distract the Dark Disciples and the Dark Triad for a little bit, to ensure that the captains are able to get to infiltrate into the Spade Kingdom and to fight up against the Dark Triad. Which this goes into Nacht's plan again, which is pretty much to have the other characters who are not captain level to stay and help out the Spade Resistance. Meanwhile, the captains would split into into three groups, and of three captain level captains within each group, right? So much the plan would be to have two captains go up against one of the Dark Triad, as it shows that one captain is not enough to go up against the Dark Triad. And you have another captain within that group. The third captain within that group, that captain would be the decoy, which that captain would go into fighting against the Dark Disciples to ensure that the captains don't have any disturbances or any issues when they're fighting up against the Dark Triad members, Dante, Vanica, and Zenon. And the way that, you know, the captains are structured to fight up against the Dark Disciple, the Dark Triad, just fits so well because it just shows how Nacht has planned for this. Nacht planned this a lot, right? He took into consideration what are the abilities that the captains have, what's their magic, and how can they counter the Dark Triad, and they pretty much put captains corresponding to those traits to go up against the Dark Triad to ensure that they win. And, you know, the Dark Triad, they also have a plan up their sleeve, which was to bring in a ancient demon. When I saw that, I was like, wait, what you bring in an ancient demon this early? Because if you guys don't know, the ancient demons, they're really powerful. It took the first Wizard King a while. Like, he struggled up against one of the ancient demons. So if the Dark Triad had brought that in, only a Wizard King level character would be able to fight against them. But of course, that Nacht also took that into his consideration, which goes into one of my favorite moments within the beginning of the arc. Mereoleona coming in and helping out the Spade resistance. My god, that was amazing. Because honestly, up until now, after the time skip, we never really got to see Mereoleona in action after the Elf arc. And after seeing her, for a new design, for new magic, I was super excited to see that. I really, really loved that. It was one of my favorite scenes within this arc, right? Which, this kind of goes into the next part, which is the Dark Triad versus the Captains, round 1. Okay, so for this part of the arc, I liked a few things, but also didn't really like a lot of things. See, in this part of the arc, a lot of fans complained a lot, I mean a lot, about transformations. There was a lot of transformations within these chapters of, the Dark Triad going against the Captains, right? We get to see Charlotte, her using a brand new transformation, right? Which pretty much allows her to go up against Vanica's curse magic. And then you have Jack the Ripper, him being able to, achieve a brand new transformation to go up against Dante's gravity and body magic, right? And then you have Yuno, him having a brand new transformation and going up against Zenon at 80%. Now, what's the problem, right? A lot of fans had a lot of problems with these transformations. Honestly, for me, I only had one problem with one of the transformations. The other two, even Nacht's transformation, it made sense. It made sense for these characters because they have been training for a very long time. They are captains. So for them to be able to achieve a transformation, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, it makes a lot of sense for them to achieve this, right? Because they've had many years to practice. They've had many years to train, right, and to hone their skills. And Charlotte, her being able to use a brand new transformation, which pretty much allows her to go up against Vanica's curse magic, makes sense because Charlotte, she was cursed to where her Brian magic would be weaker than it was supposed to be. After then, and then the Elf arc, we come to find out the true power of Charlotte's true Brian magic, right? We can find that out. And through her training in the Hot Kingdom, she was able to learn how to use true Brian magic, her rune magic, right? Which pretty much allows her to deal with Vanica's curse magic, right? That makes sense because again, she trained. She learned how to use her true Brian magic, right? Which gave her a transformation of using true Brian magic, and the Brian magic that she had before, the blue and red Brian magic, right? Both combinations, right? And then you have Jack the Ripper. He was able to, get a new transformation. Again, for him, it makes sense because he has trained for many, many years, right? It's not just out of the blue that he gets this transformation. No, he's been training for many years, right? And, his magic adapts to his opponent's magic. So for him to get this brand new transformation to, speed up the process to where he's able to adapt to an opponent's magic much, much quicker, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for his character as well, right? But for Yuno, that's where I draw the line, because I was shocked. I was completely in disbelief when I saw Yuno going up against Zenon. Longris, his magic goes really well up against Zenon's spatial magic. It makes sense because, as we got shown prior with Longris versus Finral, spatial magic cancels each other out. So Longris would be the perfect opponent to go up against Zenon's spatial magic. But he lost. He lost up against Zenon prior to this arc, okay? He lost against Zenon at 50%. So for him to be able to go up against Zenon at 80%, a much stronger version of Zenon, 80%, the version of Dante that gave Ami and Asta a lot of trouble. For Yuno to be able to go up against Zenon that quickly and to completely body Zenon for a certain amount of time, that was unreal. I was like, that makes no sense. It does not make any sense. Of course, we do have a lot of explanation later on, but again, that kind of confuses me because if that's the case, how did Yuno get this transformation? I will go into this later on, don't worry, I will go into it, but that was just a huge problem I had. I just had a huge problem with this scene. I really didn't like how just got this brand new transformation, right? His spirit just said, hey, I'm just going to be inside your grimoire, and then I'm going to, make you stronger. And I really didn't like that whole aspect, right? Because prior to this, we got no information that Belle could do that. We had no prior knowledge that Belle could do that. We had no prior knowledge, right? We come to find out everything through Yuno. Like, again, this kind of problem I had with when Yuno learned how to do Mana Zone, okay? When Yuno used Mana Zone for the first time, I was like, how did you learn this? Like, you never seen anyone using Mana Zone. We come to find out Mana Zone through Mario Leona, and Yami, a captain, had issues, learning how to use Mana Zone. He literally needed to train with Mario Leona for him to be able to learn how to use Mana Zone effectively. He didn't, Yami, a captain, didn't know a lot about Mana Zone. But somehow knew how to use Mana Zone, which is like, how do you know how to use Mana Zone? Like, that made no sense at the time. I was very confused, right? I was very, very confused when Yami didn't even know how to use, Mana Zone, and he was captain, yet who has been using his magic for a while, he somehow knew how to use Mana Zone without any training, right? He's the gifted child, and the one who has an abundance amount of magic, right? He's gifted by magic, but honestly, this was a scene that I really, really did not like. But thankfully, we go into an amazing scene, which honestly, I did not see that coming. I'm sure that a lot of fans of Black Clover did not see that coming. Oh my god. When the Triglyph of Devils from the first gate show up, I got chills. I legit got chills. I was like, oh my god, how did this even happen? why? Why is it happening so soon? I'm sure that everyone was shocked to see, the first cliff of tree, the first gate of the cliff of tree just, open so soon. Because, before this, we were stated that, we had some time before the first gate of the tree cliff of opened, but it opened early, and we were all shocked. I was shocked. And, this gave us a segue to, introduce this character called Morris, a scientist of the Spade Kingdom who used to be the scientist of the Diamond Kingdom. We're going to introduce to him, we're going to find out that, he was blind, but he has the power of a devil. He has the power of a devil to where now he can see, and which boosts his abilities, right? His magic power, and you're going to find out that his magic power is reconstruction magic, which he can just reconstruct and take stuff from other people, right? This answers so many questions as to what was happening in the Diamond Kingdom. Like, how did these knights, magic knights from the Diamond Kingdom, just get so powerful and have different types of magic, right? How did they have two types of magic? How did Mars get two types of magic, diamond and fire magic, right? Was it really an experiment from the Diamond Kingdom, from people there? We got the answer to that. It was one individual. It was the scientist Morris with his reconstruction magic, just reconstructing Morris's magic and fusing it with Fauna's magic. It wasn't just stuff from Diamond Kingdom. It was just him. He was just reconstructing their abilities, and I was shocked. I could not believe this. It was shocking to me. I was like, oh my god. And then you can find out just how strong the first gate devils are. Just how strong they are. Like, you can see, they're just playing with Nacht. And then they're playing with Nacht. They're playing with Jack. They're just playing around, right? And Nacht, he stated that the Cliff of Devils, the first gate, were equivalent to the Dark Triad. But it turns out that they're way, way, way stronger than the Dark Triad. But that's not all. Once the first gate opens, devils start pouring out and just attacking everyone outside of the castle. And I'm like, oh my god, are we going through some eclipse? Are we going through the eclipse of Berserk all over again? I was shocked because you got the Cliff of Devils from the first gate showing up, and you also have the Dark Triad finally reaching 100% of their power. And when that happens, the captains, they get overpowered easily. They get overpowered easily by the Dark Triad. And at that moment, I'm like, all hope is lost. I could not believe what was happening. Everything was happening so fast that I could not believe that we were getting to this point so early. But then you can find out that, the Spade Kingdom has another ancient demon, which that ancient demon goes in and attacks the Clover Kingdom while all the captains are in the Spade Kingdom fighting against the Dark Triad, the Devils, and just the ancient demon. Merleona is fighting against an ancient demon, and you tell me that there's another one? I was shocked. I could not believe this, but this goes into another section which I really, really loved, which, the ancient demon just comes in and attacks the Clover Kingdom. You get to see, the captain of the Purple Orcas, I think that's the name of the squad, right? You got him, right, trying to stop the ancient demon. Nothing works. You got the Musher and Julius working together to make it so that that Julius can go back into his adult self temporarily to try and stop the ancient demon. He's only able to slow him down. But then Asta shows up, and then he just turns the tables. Asta versus the ancient demon. Okay, so I think that now is the perfect time for me to talk about the training that Asta did so that I can talk about what Asta just did against the Ancient Demon. Asta trained with Nacht to try and master this technique called the Devil Union, which pretty much allows the user to fuse with his devil, right, to create a perfect union. However, Asta's contract was different from Nacht's contract, right? Nacht's contract is a contract that pretty much forces the devil to go into a perfect unison with Nacht. However, Asta's contract is different. It's a 50-50 contract, where Asta and Liebe both are, somewhat in control. They have their own decisions, right? If Liebe wants to help out Asta, he'll help out Asta. If Liebe does not want to help Asta, he will not help Asta. Which, honestly, at first would be like, that really isn't great, is it? But after finding out, Asta versus Liebe, the whole thing, about Lucita and how Liebe came to understand Asta a bit better and come to trust him, their devil union is not perfect, but they were able to do it. They were able to do a devil union. However, it was only for a few minutes. 5 minutes. And honestly, I like this plot device. I like this because it doesn't make Asta broken right from the start. It doesn't make him broken from the start, okay? It doesn't make it so that, he can just pull out this ability whenever he wants to, right? And just go and use it for a very long time. No, he has 5 minutes. He has 5 minutes. That is the amount of time that he can use the Devil Union mode, right? Which pretty much makes him, at Wizard King level temporarily for 5 minutes. And this is good, and as you know, it gives other characters a chance to, shine, and it just shows that, even though Asta just obtained this really, really powerful ability, he still has to train. He still has to, train to the point to where he can use it for a long period of time. So having this makes a lot of sense, right? And Asta going up against the Ancient Demon, it was just an amazing thing to see. Honestly, when I saw this, I teared up. I was literally crying because I was just so happy. Prior to this, Asta, he was blamed as, the cause of the Elf arc. Everyone viewed him differently, right? Everyone blamed him, right? And Asta was supposed to, be executed if it wasn't for Julius and, Nozel and Fugoleon coming in to help him out in that situation. And, seeing Asta using the power of a devil, it was a really amazing scene. As, you get to see Klaus, him, supporting Asta. Everyone shouting like, "Go, Asta, go! Fight up against this demon, defeat the Ancient Demon, go, Asta!" I was just tearing up because this was just an amazing moment. Because up until now, Asta, he has always been viewed as, a peasant, someone who doesn't have any magic. And when people found out that he had a power of a devil, people ridiculed him. People treated him differently, right? You got to see how the nobles reacted to finding out that he had devil powers, right? And Asta using those same devil powers, the same powers that all the nobles, everyone feared, to save and help the Clover Kingdom to defeat a really amazing, really dangerous threat like the Ancient Demon. It was just amazing, and honestly, I'm just excited to see how the Clover Kingdom will react once Asta comes back to the Clover Kingdom, right? Because Asta, he just one-shotted the Ancient Demon pretty much, right? Displaying his overall strength, right, up against the Ancient Demon, and then he just bounced straight into the Spade Kingdom, right? And that's pretty much what he did, right? And we come to find out some more information about Asta's Devil Union. Again, he has a time limit to how long he can use the Devil Union, But on top of that, like I said, he can't just, 5 minutes are up, fine, I'm just gonna turn it again. No, he has a time limit, and that time limit of 30 minutes is a long time. Okay, it's a very long time, especially if you're fighting up against really, really powerful opponents like the Dark Triad, like the Cliff of Devils, like the opponents that they're facing in the Spade Kingdom. So him, having to wait 30 minutes is huge. It's huge. Of course, that only happens after the fight against the Cliff of Devils, but I will get on to that in just a minute. But finding out that information about Asta's Devil Union, I'm happy with it. I'm happy they know he has a limit to how long he can use it, and she still has more training to do. Unlike Yuno, to where he just got that brand new power and he can just keep on spamming it. Which, yeah, I'm not too happy about that. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Yuno, damn it. But anyway, pretty much after that, we could see Asta going into the Spade Kingdom, and when we go into the Spade Kingdom, we get to see, the other characters who are training with the Elves, Noelle, Locke, and the other characters, pretty much show up and show that, they have full control. Then they also trained, and, how you get to see their training, how it paid off to where they're able to go up against mid-ranking Devil using their ultimate magic, right? Ultimate magic, a technique that they learned from the Elves, right? And that was just amazing. But then we get into Nacht versus the first Cliff of Devils, and my God, just those chapters brought me to tears. Finding out Nacht's backstory and just what he was going through while fighting up against these demons, it's unreal. But let's talk about that right now. Okay, so up until this point we knew very little about Nacht. We knew that he was the vice captain of the Black Bulls, and that he has been spying on the Spade Kingdom for quite some time to give information to our group of characters. And, this led many people to believe that he would end up betraying our group of characters. But that was until we got his backstory, when he fought up against, Lilith and Nama, the twin devils of the first gate of the Cliff of Tree. And you come to find out his backstory, and you come to find out that he was actually the person that we got to see in a flashback prior, the guy with the white hair. And it turns out that he was talking to his twin brother, Morgan. And we're going to find out that his twin brother, Morgan, he was loved by everyone, right? Everyone liked him, and Nacht, he felt inferior. He felt that I'm the complete opposite of my brother, therefore he's probably going to be the one who's going to, be the next head of the family, so I'll let him, be someone amazing, whereas I will rebel. I will be, that person that you don't really want to be around, right? And his shadow magic very, very well allowed him to do that, right? But the thing is, his shadow magic went really well with another character's magic, Yami's magic. And you're going to find out, something I really like about this arc is that it heavily focuses on Yami. Everyone's backstories that you're going to find out in this arc, it all goes on to Yami. Yami is very relevant in these flashbacks, and you get to see just how connected Yami is to everyone within this story. And you come to find out that Yami was someone that Nacht grew close to, and that, Nacht was also someone that, Yami talked to a lot, and they used to be friends when they were younger. When Yami first came into the Clover Kingdom, they became friends, and they would do trouble, right? They would cause trouble, not too severe to where Magic Knights would come after them, but somewhat severe to where people would not want to be around them. But then when Yami and his brother Morgan became Magic Knights, Nacht became even more distant. Again, believing that he wasn't fit to be the head of the family, so he decided to rebel. But then you come to find out that the Faust family, Nacht's family, is actually a family that dabbles in devil magic, devil binding rituals, stuff to do with devils, which honestly, I like this reference because it's believable. People around that time, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to see, families and cults being formed about, about devils and stuff like that. It wasn't that common. And again, seeing this in the story, I really, really liked that. And of course, after finding the truth about his family, the family says, no, Morgan isn't someone who's gonna be the next head. You are, because you have the talent for devil binding rituals. And this was proven when he was able to make pact with 4 devils. For low, like he was really good at making pacts with low to mid-rank devils, right? And it was really good. I really liked seeing that. But after a while, Nacht became greedy. He was like, oh, so if I can make binding rituals with low to mid-tier devils, I could probably do so with a high-ranking devil. That was his mistake. That was a mistake that he did, which was, he said, I'll surpass my limits. The moment he says that, everything went to hell. His brother Morgan slipped in and, joined the cult to try and stop his brother from doing something that he would end up regretting. But sadly, he was too late. And when he said summon, the devil showed up, and everyone there, including his brother Morgan, died. When I read this, I teared up. I was very, very sad. But then he got to see, Yami. We finally get to see through Nacht's flashback, we come to find out that the reason why Yami smokes is because of Nacht. Yami picked up Nacht's cigarettes when Morgan died. He quit smoking. He took over the personality of his brother. He changed his overall persona. He changed into his brother. He dressed up like him, and he quit smoking. And after this flashback, you finally get to see Nacht say, I used to hate saying this, but I'll surpass my limits. That hit hard. That hit hard because, let me remind you, the last time he said I'll surpass my limits, hell came about, right? Like, the last time he said surpass the limits, his family was gone, right? He ended up being alone, which kind of goes into why he hates when people say I'll surpass my limits, because it was just something that he really hated, because last time he said that, he ended up losing everything. And when he says that once again, he fights up against the Cliff of Devils, and the Cliff of Devils, they show that they're strong, like they're very strong. They can burn through anything, they can freeze anything. Shadow magic? Doesn't matter. They will still burn it or freeze it, okay? Stuff that doesn't even exist, magic that isn't physical, they can still burn it or freeze it. And, this show of display of power is something that I grew terrified. As I was reading this, I was like, oh my god, after this flashback, is Nacht gonna die? Is this character who now I've grown attached to going to die? I really liked this scene, and what made it even better was when Asta showed up to help Nacht and to fight up against the twin devils by himself, using the remaining time of his Devil Union mode. See, Asta, when he fought up against the Ancient Demon, he only used 2 minutes of his Devil Union. He made quick work of the Ancient Demon. But when it comes to the Cliff of Devils, he literally had to go all out. Well, he really didn't really have to go all out. He was just displaying the powers of his other swords. And Asta's power was just terrifying. It was just a terrifying display of power. Like, Asta was legit making the twin devils look like a joke. Literally, right after they displayed their raw strength that they had against Nacht. And Asta just makes them look like a joke. Like, honestly, I really, really liked that fight. I really liked seeing Asta bodying the twin devils to the point where they literally had to fuse to, to fight up against Asta. But even then, Asta was just dodging and just blocking their attacks. The only thing that they had advantage over Asta was speed. They were faster than Asta in terms of speed. So, of course, they tried to run away, but Nacht made a last-ditch effort to save the day and to stop the Cliff of Devils to allow Asta to give an opening so that he can finish off the twin devils. And it was amazing. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It was just amazing. And I know I keep on saying this, but this arc is one of my favorite arcs, and I love seeing, when Asta and Liebe finally defeated the Twin Devils, right? Liebe talking about how the Twin Devils actually felt fear for the first time, and, them actually defeating them, it was all very nice. And seeing Nacht's overall character somewhat be concluded because of that flashback. And, of course, seeing Asta showing traits of his older brother, which again, it just made me tear up. But after that, we get to see the other fights, the Dark Triad fights. And for this one, I think that I'm gonna split it into a few parts. Like, talk about them individually, not just like skip over everything, because there's a lot that happens within these fights. So the Dark Triad. Magna versus Dante. Now, throughout the story, we've always been shown that Magna, he was never the strongest of the squad, and this led to him having an inferiority complex where he felt that he was inferior to everyone there, and he always compared himself to Luck and Magna. Luck, his rival, who, was a peasant just like him, but he was able to do so many things, fight up against really strong opponents. And Asta, someone with no magic, ended up having anti-magic to where he's able to cancel out his opponent's magic, which allows him to fight against really strong opponents. Whereas Magna, he was never able to do amazing things. He was never able to go up against really powerful opponents. And when he did, he'd always end up losing. And, he always felt inferior to everyone. He felt that he didn't belong in the squad because of just how weak he was compared to everyone within the squad, right? And we get to see him, train throughout, the time skip. And when he returns, Tobata diverts everyone's expectations on Magna instantly. Because, see, everyone was always under the impression that when Magna came back from the time skip, he would go up against, let's say, a low-ranking demon or a mid-ranking demon, right? His training would allow him to go up against those types of opponents, right? So where he would be able to support his squad fighting up against them. But never in a million years did I expect him to go up against Dante. I don't think that anyone ever expected him to do that, right? No one expected him to go against Dante and more or less do what he did to Dante in this fight. See, Tobata made Dante pretty much being us, the viewers, right, giving our opinion on, Magna after the time skip. What do I mean by this? See, when Magna and Zora show up to, go up against Dante, Dante goes like, "What are you guys doing here? You guys are peasants. You guys have low magic. Why are you guys here?" And that was pretty much the whole fandom. Like Dante was pretty much saying what the whole fandom was thinking. Why is Magna there fighting against Dante when prior to this we've seen that, you know, Dante gave a lot of trouble to Asta and Yami prior to, like, literally right after the time skip, right at 80%, they were able to, like, Dante was able to give a lot of trouble to Yami and Asta, and now that he was at 100%, he was completely bodying Jack, right? So what would Magna be able to do up against Dante, who is at 100% of his devil power? But then we get to see Magna attack Dante. And then the tables turn. See, Magna used this spell called Secret Fire Magic Soul Death Chain Match. And this spell pretty much allows Magna to, you know, the moment he attacks his opponent and, you know, the chains are connected to him and to his opponent, the opponent's magic gets given to him to where it becomes half, right? It becomes half of the magic, right, for both sides, so where they're able to fight at equal playing field, right, to fight equally. If his opponent's magic drops, his magic will also drop. And this allowed Magna to, you know, go up against Dante as an equal, and he was able to fight up against Dante and defeat him. And this is where a lot of fans got really annoyed with this development. But see, the thing is that this makes so much sense. The reason why Magna was able to win was because of who he was going up against and also the training that we were shown when he was training throughout these 6 months, right? And the thing is, right, that Magna, he trained for 6 months, and you got to see just how much he trained. And this spell is a one-time only spell. He can't just spam this spell over and over again. So he had to pick the perfect opponent to use this magic against. And Dante was the perfect opponent. See, if he was to use this ability up against Zenon or up against Vanica, I doubt they would allow him to, you know, use this ability. Because let's think about this. Even if someone has a weak magic, you would not want to get hit with it, especially if you know that you cannot heal your injury, right? Just as fast, right? And that's the thing, right? Zenon and Vanica, they have always been shown that they will not allow their opponents to hit them. They will not allow their opponents to hit them, okay? And Dante, he does the opposite. He allows his opponents to hit them. Why? Because of his body magic, okay? And Dante, he felt confident that, you know, because he was, you know, at 100% of his power, that literally no type of magic would be able to injure him whatsoever. So he allowed Magna to hit Dante. Again, if it was any other opponent, this spell would not work. They would, like, his opponents would either dodge the attack or block it in some way, right? Which, you know, by Magna allowing Dante, by Dante allowing Magna to attack him, this allowed Magna to, you know, use this spell to go up against Dante and, you know, beat him, right? It makes so much sense because of who Magna is fighting against. He's fighting against Dante, someone who's arrogant and who has been shown countless times to allow his opponents to hit him because of how overconfident he is. He feels confident that, you know, he has the power of Lucifero, the strongest demon within the underworld. And on top of that, with the huge abundance of magic, never in a million years would he expect his magic to run out. Okay, and of course with his body magic, he would just expect, hey, no matter who you are, if it's not anti-magic, you cannot injure me, okay? Because I will just heal my wounds instantly, right? And that was what led Dante to his downfall. He was too arrogant, which led Magna to use the opportunity to hit Dante and use this spell to where he was able to turn the tables on Dante and defeat him, okay? So for those who are still annoyed by this, hopefully this will be a good explanation. Hopefully I give you guys a good explanation to where you guys are able to understand the scene better and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now I understand why Magna was able to defeat Dante. It's not an ass pull. It makes sense. Everything makes so much sense. But the thing that I was really intrigued by all of this was Magna's training. See, Magna, he trained with Zora to learn how to use trap magic, or should I say the runes that, Zora uses to use trap magic. And we get to see that Zora has, a big room full of runes, and he was able to train Magna to use this ability, which makes you wonder what Zora can do after his 6.5 time skip, because if Magna was able to do this, just imagine just what Zora can do with his, trap magic. It's unreal, just thinking about that. But the thing is, this training to use rune magic, if peasants learned how to do this, they would become so much stronger, like so much stronger, okay? Which honestly would end up helping the Clover Kingdom so much, as if peasants are able to use this type of rune magic, they can boost their power to where they're able to go up against nobles, to where even if they're not able to go against nobles, they're able to defend themselves against nobles, to be able to run away and to have some type of power to where people can look at peasants and be like, oh, they're not that weak. They can definitely join the Magic Knights, and this would give a lot of peasants a lot more opportunities to be a Magic Knight in the future. Because think about it, if a peasant, someone who has a weak magic like Magna, were able to learn how to use rune magic, just imagine how strong they could be. If Magna was able to pull this off up against Dante, someone who, has a devil host, just imagine just how strong those peasants would end up being. And actually, scratch that. Imagine if a noble or a royal learns how to use this type of really complex magic, right? Like, just so many possibilities that could happen, right? And honestly, I hope that we get some type of explanation for this. And we do get let's say like the end of the story, like Tobata showing us that peasants are learning how to do this, because after all, in Haji Village there is a school for children to learn how to use magic and become stronger, to try to be a magic knight. So if they also incorporate rune magic into their spells, into their techniques, just imagine how strong these peasants are going to be when they join the Magic Knights. Oh my god, honestly, it just gets me super hyped. But anyways, let's go on to the next fight. Noelle versus Vanica. My god, I've been waiting for this fight for so long, and oh boy, when it happened, I was just super happy, because Vanica has done so much bad stuff to Noelle, right? She is the reason why Noelle's mother, Essia Silver, got cursed. She is also the reason why Noelle suffered so much throughout her childhood, right? The reason why her older brother pretty much didn't pay any attention to her because of this, right? Because they weren't able to talk about, the curse and to talk about their mother, because it could activate their curse. We're going to find out this later on. And, this was an amazing moment for Noelle, as it allowed her to get revenge on her mother, right? She was able to defeat Vanica, someone who caused her so much trouble. And in this fight, we come to find out a lot about spirits. More importantly, about Spirit Dive. Or should I say, the new transformation that Noelle got Spirit Dive Saint Stage. See, Saint Stage is an ability that allows the user who has the spirit to pretty much, pretty much is like a fusion, to where the person and the spirit have to be in 100% unison. If they're not 100% unison, they cannot achieve Saint Stage. Saint Stage pretty much allows the user to not only unite with their spirit, but to also be able to go against powerful demons, let's say high-ranking devils, right? They're able to go up against them. And we got shown this tremendous amount of power from Noelle when she was fighting up against, Vanica. But this kind of brings me into a problem that I had with Yuno. How did he learn this? See, Noelle learned how to use Saint Stage by her training with the Water Spirit and a Dryad, which we come to see in this in Noelle's flashback, right? She trained with the Water Spirit and the Dryad to be able to learn how to use Saint Stage. But Yuno, he trained by himself. How did he learn how to achieve Saint Stage? Now, I bet you're going to say, well, he didn't really achieve Saint Stage, he will achieve it later on. True, but that brings me to another question. What is that transformation that he did? Is that transformation that is close to Saint Stage power? What is that? Because if Yuno learned to do that, why didn't, let's say, Fugolion or, Noelle learn how to do this, right? Right? Should I say Laura Pachica? Why didn't they learn how to do this if they knew if this was just how beneficial it would be to them, right? Because Yuno was able to do this. He was able to go toe-to-toe with Zenon at 80% just by him having Belle inside his grimoire for a few days. So just imagine just how stronger Yuno would have been, or Fugolion or Laura Pachica would have been if, their spirits would have been, inside the grimoires for a very long time. Just makes you question. But then again, I kind of want to see Fugolion using his spirit dive. I really want to see that, and honestly, I can give him a pass if he, learns how to use Saint Stage, because he is a captain. He has had many years to train. So for him to be able to use Spirit Dive Saint Stage, especially after knowing that, Yuno can use Spirit Dive, it wouldn't be out of the question that he would be able to, pull this off, because he's a captain, he's trained for many years, and he is, a really gifted magic knight. So again, it would make a lot of sense for him to be able to use Spirit Dive or Saint Stage. Which honestly, I was waiting for that to happen, honestly. But the fight was really, really great. I really, really liked the fight between Noelle and Vanica. Right, it was probably one of my best fights, excluding the one with Magna and Dante, because that fight was brilliant. I loved how just choreographed everything was, just the fighting, everything within that fight was just so brilliant, and this one was also brilliant as well. But then comes the next fight, right after Noelle versus Vanica, which caught everyone by storm. Literally, we did not expect this to happen. And honestly, I have to give credit to Tobata, because he definitely knows how to hype expectations for the viewers. He definitely knows how to do this. And, that cliffhanger at the end, just, my god, I can't wait to talk about this amazing cliffhanger, just the ending to that chapter, just, oh my god. But anyways, let's go on into the next fight. Megicula versus Noelle. Now, after Noelle defeats Vanica's devil Megicula, she was able to manifest into this world, which caused everyone to be in utter shock, because we just finished fighting up against the first Cliff of Devil. How can they fight up against Megicula now? That was unreal, and everyone started scratching their heads, being like, well, how? Because up until this point, the only way that we knew that devils could come out of the underworld was, through the cleft of the tree, right? Or by binding ritual that, the devil would do with a human, right? To where they would be under contract, but this won't allow the devil to come into the, human world, right? And those were the only two possibilities that we knew at the time. But Megicula presented a brand new way for the devils to come out, which was, well, get free hosts, free sacrifices to allow her to manifest. See, for her to manifest, she needed free sacrifices, which were free women of this, free people from the same gender who were, really strong people, right? And she would just bind their souls, people who would be affected by her magic, right? They would end up being a sacrifice, and by being a sacrifice, this would allow her to manifest when they die. Meaning that Acia Silver's soul did not go to heaven, it was trapped in, the mortal realm because of Megicula's curse. Similar to, Vanica and Laura Pachica. Their soul could not go to heaven unless Megicula was, defeated. And so she decided to grab onto Acia Silver's soul, killed off Vanica, and she only needed to kill Laura Pachica. But of course she just wanted to play around with the humans because she was very, very intrigued. Which caused Laura Pachica to, turn into a devil, right? Megicula turned Laura Pachica into a devil, and this is what kind of led a lot of fans to start hating on the writing of Tobata, which honestly, I'm not too mad about. I'm not, but we'll get into in just a sec. But pretty much what happens is that Laura Pachica, she turned into a devil, allows her to, use water attack spells, right? And she manages to impale Gaja. And by doing so, Gaja pretty much goes like, he paralyzes her and then uses his ultimate magic, right? His last dying breath, he uses his life force to use his ultimate magic to allow himself to defeat Megicula. But that didn't really work, which caused him to pretty much be on the verge of death. But then, Real uses his ability, which caused a lot of fans to get really annoyed. I can kind of understand why. See, Real's ability, Castle of Valhalla, the Nightfall spell, but this is a Valhalla spell, right? That spell pretty much allows anyone that is allied with Real to be affected by the spell, which pretty much allows everyone to get back up no matter the injury that they have, okay, and continue fighting until Real's spell runs out, meaning that even if you're on the verge of death, just like Gaja, you would be able to come back and fight for a last hurrah, which is what, Gaja did, and everyone else. It was just beautiful panels. They were all beautiful panels, and it was brilliant to see. And of course, within this fight, we also get to see Asta, saving Laura Pachica, and, Noelle finally accepting that she likes Asta, finally realizing that she loves Asta. And that was a scene that I loved so much. And after that, we get to see, them fighting up against Megicula. And by doing so, we also get to see the beautiful finale, which was Nozel showing up and, fighting up against Megicula, right? That scene was something that we've been waiting for such a long time, because Nozel, he's been holding in so much, right? He saw his mother get attacked by Vanica. His life was completely changed. He was sad. He was mortified, and you got to see in the flashbacks just how affected he was when he knew that his mother was dying because of, Megicula's curse. And he couldn't do anything. And after his mother died, he couldn't speak about this to anyone. He couldn't talk about the curse to anyone because they would also be affected by this curse. And seeing Nozel finally working with Noelle was beautiful. It was honestly a beautiful moment that it's engraved in my mind. I loved that scene because this was a scene of Nozel finally truly respecting Noelle as a magic knight, and him realizing that he shouldn't have went this alone. He shouldn't have put everything onto himself, right? He should have trusted on others. He should have helped his family. He shouldn't have left Noelle just suffer so much. Just the amount that she suffered, he shouldn't have done that. And he realized that. He realized his mistake. And after finally putting an end to Megicula, he really wasn't able to do anything, to say anything to Noelle. He wanted to say a lot of stuff to Noelle, but he couldn't because he's just been holding it in for so many years that he just felt puzzled. He's just like, how do I explain this to her? Like, it's been so long. Where do I even begin? And that scene was just beautiful. I loved that scene. We had so few comedic moments, but after these comedic moments, after Megicula's defeat, this is where a lot of fans got really, really, really annoyed with the series, which caused everyone to start saying that that Black Clover has no stakes, that no one dies within this series, and that scene is when Rill's spell runs out and Rill, Charlotte, and Gaja are on the verge of death. Gaja, he pretty much says his final goodbyes to Laura Pachica, and then he supposedly dies. But then Mimosa comes in, and she uses her ultimate magic, which caused everything to just reverse, and caused to where Gaja, he managed to live. And, I kind of feel 50-50 on this. Like, I can understand why fans were annoyed by this, as after all, Gaja, he got, impaled in the chest. He was, he sacrificed his life to, put an end to Megicula, and, that was his final hurrah, right? He came back to help out one final time and to say his final goodbyes to Laura Pachica and then pass on. But at the same time, I felt like Gaja, him surviving, also makes sense. See, Laura Pachica, she has suffered so much. So much. Like, Laura Pachica, she got cursed by Megicula, right? She got captured by Vanica, right? Got turned into a devil, pretty much a pawn, right? Being forced to fight up against the people that she cares about, right? And after all of that, if Gaja died, who would be there to help her? Okay, she suffered so much that her losing someone who was really, really close to her would have been very detrimental to her, and it would probably be, something that she probably couldn't handle, right? And I know you guys are going to say, well, this would give her a lot of character development for her to start learning, attack magic spells, blah, 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 blah. And I understand that. But I just felt like Laura Pachica has suffered so much that I didn't want Gaja to die. I wanted him to, be with Laura Pachica, and Gaja's love confession to Laura Pachica at the end was just beautiful. I loved seeing that, confession. And if you hate this moment, that's fine. I'm neutral. I can understand why people are mad that, Gaja should have died. And in some ways, I do think that, yes, the damage that he sustained and what he did in this arc would have been enough to, make him, it is enough to make him one of my favorite characters. And if he died, I would understand that. But him also surviving, I can also understand that, as it would allow Laura Chica to at least have something that allows her to, to be happy, right? Because she has suffered so much, and now she has something that, someone that can make her happy, and she won't be losing anyone anytime soon. That will depend on the next arc, but for now, no one is really gonna die. Like, she isn't really gonna suffer. But that was pretty much the end of this fight, and then we get into Yuno's fight, which has so many problems with this fight. But yeah, let's get on with it. Yuno versus Zenon. Now, in this fight, we come to find out Zenon's backstory, what led to him be the way that he is now. Right, so we come to find out that Zenon's backstory was very similar to Yuno and Asta's story. See, Zenon and his friend, which was his rival, I forgot his name, but pretty much his rival, they both wanted to be this amazing thing, right? They both wanted to be powerful magic knights, right? They wanted to achieve this rank within the Spade Kingdom's Magic Knights rankings, right? And there come a point to where Zenon, he had to make a very difficult choice. See, he had the choice to either sacrifice his friends to defeat this demon, or try to fight against the demon and try to find another way for him to be able to fight up against the demon and defeat him without any injuries, without any casualties. But the thing is, Zenon, he didn't think about the possibility. The only possibility that he saw in that moment was attack my best friend, my rival, and in turn, it will also attack the demon, which it did, which caused his rival to die, which made his personality darker. He became darker. He wanted to, he wanted the best for his kingdom, but he went about it the wrong way. He wanted this kingdom to prosper, to be strong, right? But in turn, it made his kingdom, the people who are not strong, the weak, resent him and their family, right? And of course, we got to see what happened from the moment that Zenon became this way all the way up until now. And it makes you wonder, would Yuno do that in the future if the circumstances arises? If Yuno is placed in that type of circumstance, would he do that? And we got to see a glimpse of that in this fight. See, Longris, he fights up against Zenon for a little bit to buy time so that Yuno can charge up his attack. And when Yuno attacks Zenon, he does not attack Longris. He attacks Zenon, which makes Zenon question why. Why did you not attack him and me as well? See, you could have killed me if he aimed for my heart, but he was in front of me. But because he was in front of me, you didn't aim for my heart. You aimed for the neck, right? The neck, the part of the chest, right? The top of the chest, right? And this showed Zenon a parallel, something that he could have done, another option that he could have taken to ensure that his friend would still be alive today. But he didn't think of that at the time. He was under a lot of pressure, and it made him kind of regret, what if I did this, right? And we come to see Zenon, him making a sacrifice to his devil, which the sacrifice pretty much to give Zenon a devil's heart, and by doing so they would be pretty much under a full contract to where Zenon's devil, he would pretty much have to help out the Spade Kingdom if, to prevent it from being destroyed. But will this will Zenon's devil really do this? We'll just have to see and see if it really does happen. But pretty much after this, Zenon, he turns into a full devil, and when he turns into a full devil, just because of the heart, you can see just how strong Zenon is. He's really, really strong, and he managed to completely body Yuno, right, which gave us two beautiful moments in this fight. One of the beautiful moments was, seeing Longris and his brother Finral finally working together to fight up against Zenon, right? This is something that I bet a lot of fans were waiting for, because we got to see just how bad Longris and Finral's relationship was, right? And seeing them two working together was definitely amazing. And I loved that scene, even though they lost. It was still an amazing tag team moment. Something I really like about Black Clover, which is that fights are never really won by themselves. There's always a team effort in this fight. There's 1 or 2 or 3 instances to where characters fight alone, but that is very rare within Black Clover, which is something I really, really like about this series. But the next moment is when Yuno, he is alone. He feels defeated. See, he felt like everything was his fault. If only he was stronger, his squad mates from the Golden Dawn wouldn't have died. If he was stronger, Longris and Finral wouldn't be in the situation that they are. If he was stronger, he wouldn't have lost, okay? And if he was stronger, he would have been able to save his captain, William, but he wasn't able to. And I loved seeing this from Yuno, as Yuno, up until this point, has always been a character that I really wasn't really interested in. See, he was always this character that was always gifted. He was this quiet, cool character, which, don't get me wrong, is cool. I like that. The rivalry between him and Asta was, amazing, right? But that was kind of the thing that, kind of made me like Yuno as a character up until this point. See, the only thing that I really cared about Yuno was that, he was Asta's rival, and that, he would get a few abilities, which they look cool, but it's kind of like, oh my god, you just got this ability. How did you learn this? And this was kind of the problem that I had with when, he learned Mana Zone, when he learned how to use, Same stage later on within this fight, right? Just, I had a few problems with his overall power, just how he was being given all of these abilities that honestly makes him broken. And through him feeling this desperate, through him feeling this weak, I started to like him as a character, right? I started to see him as, someone who's actually vulnerable, someone who's not, this really powerful person who's, broken, who is given everything. No. After this fight, I started to see, differently. I started to see that, yeah, he too gets, annoyed. He too also feels the desperation of being weak, right? He does not like being weak because because he was weak, because he wasn't strong enough, his squad mates, they died. His captain was taken, and now he feels helpless to where he can't do anything to save one of his squad members and Asta's friend, right? And this made him able to, talk to his elf spirit, which I know you're going to say is plot armor. Yeah, I can kind of see that, right? Because it turns out that, he was using the spirit of the elf that was inside of him, right? The wind abilities, he was using those abilities from the elf, which kind of makes sense as to why now, now it makes more sense as to why, when Yuno was possessed, he was using all of these abilities, and why, when the people from the Spade Kingdom, they saw that, and they found out that Yuno had wind magic, they were like, oh, really? He has wind magic? Interesting. but they were very doubtful, and there were just no questioning Yuno's abilities, right? Because his abilities were not meant to be wind magic, because you're going to find out that Yuno's parents had really amazing magic. See, his father had sun magic and his mother had moon magic, which meant that Yuno would have star magic, which is what happens in this fight. He gets a brand new grimoire from the Spade Kingdom, which pretty much allows him to use wind magic and also star magic, which this is what caused a lot of fans, including myself, to be honestly really annoyed with his character, because he was just given so much stuff, right? He just learned stuff from nowhere, right? He never had any training, which caused his abilities to, when they appear, made me and a lot of fans pretty annoyed, because, like, come on, like, how did you learn how to do this? How did you learn to do this? And he was always a gifted person, and with this new power, this made, the fan base go pretty annoyed, go crazy, because they were like, oh, come on, now he has 2 grimoires, what else? He's gonna get a 3rd grimoire? Honestly, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. I would not be surprised if he had a 2nd grimoire, but another grimoire. But yeah, like him getting another grimoire, you could say, kind of makes sense, because he had the wind spirit, the wind abilities from his elf spirit, and he also had the star magic, which is his own magic. And by using these 2 magics, Yuno was able to finally defeat Zenon. And the final words that Zenon gave to Yuno, honestly, it was beautiful. I really loved that scene, because it concluded, the whole thing with Zenon, right? He regretted the fact that he couldn't choose another option. And now that kind of, made him wonder, if I chose differently, what would have happened? Would I be who I am now, or would I change? Would my friends still be alive if I tried to do the next, if I opted to do the, 2nd choice, which is to try and defeat the demon without killing my best friend? And like I said, there was a lot of problems in this fight, especially with just having a bunch of power-ups, and him learning how to use Same Stage again. I kind of got a bit annoyed by that as well, because, like, come on, like, how did you learn how to use Same Stage? And I know people are going to say, oh, it's because of Spirit, but no, like, up until this point, we never got stated that Belle really, like, Spirit really knew how to do Spirit Dive, how to do Same Stage, right? Because Yuno Spirit was pretty much a premature spirit, right? It's a brand new wind spirit, right? And it's clearly showing that she really didn't know about all of these abilities, right? And now that learned this, again, it makes me question, how did he learn how to do this? See, I would have understood it if he trained with, let's say, the Triad, right? The Triad that we got to see when Noelle trained with her water spirit, right? If we got something like that, I would have, understand. It's like, I would have been able to understand. It's like, okay, yeah, he knows how to use Same Stage because he trained with a Triad, or because he trained with someone who, uses spirit magic, right? I would have understood that. That would have made a lot of sense if that was the case. If he was training with another spirit user or with a Dryad. But no, he wasn't really, training with them. He just trained by himself, and somehow he was able to, become extremely strong to fight against Zenon at 80%. And he also learned how to use Same Stage when fighting against Zenon in combination with his star magic. Which, yeah, like I said, there were so many problems with this fight. But it is what it is. I'm sure that fans love this fight. I liked it, but there were just so many issues with the whole power system and stuff like that that just made me not like this series. Not like this fight as much as I would have if there was more explanation with Yuno's overall power. I wish there was more explanation on that, because it just makes it very vague, as in, like, oh, of course, Yuno is gifted, of course. Yeah, but that was pretty much it for this fight. But let's go on to the next fight, which honestly I'm excited to talk about, because after this fight, it means that we're close to the end of the arc. Which, yeah, like, oh boy, I can't wait to talk about the ending. But yeah, let's just get on with the video and talk about the next fight. Morris versus the Black Bulls. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was not happy with how Morris got defeated. And I also wasn't happy with what happened to Dorothy in this battle. See, up until this point, Dorothy has been a character that a lot of people have fallen in love with, especially right after the Elf arc. Okay, people started to love her character so much because of her, personality and her magic. And, before the time skip, we got to see her say to Noelle, I want to be able to trap a devil inside my glamour world. And, after she said that, we were all very, very excited to see her doing something like that to her opponent. So when we got to this arc and, she got split up because she was the one who was going to, be the decoy to fight up against the Dark Disciples, whilst the captains were fighting against the Dark Triad, was definitely something that got all of us really, really hyped, okay? Because it meant that, we would get that moment of her fighting against a strong opponent later on. And when we finally got to that moment, it got off screen. We never really got to see her fight up against Morris, which was a huge letdown, and she got saved by the Black Bulls that came in to help out in this fight against Morris. And that really undermined her character because we were all excited. And after this, a lot of fans got pretty annoyed with the fact that, we really didn't get to see a lot from Dorothy, and especially later on when she goes up against an opponent which honestly, understandably, it makes sense why she wouldn't be able to do anything to that opponent, but it was just such a huge letdown. Right after the Elf arc, we get this arc, and she was just a huge disappointment in this arc. I'm sorry, but she was. But then we go into Morris, and we're going to find out that, the devil that he had was none other than Lucifero. And when I heard this in the first time, I was like, oh my god, like, that just changes everything. Because, this meant that Morris had Lucifero's abilities all this time. So meaning that Lucifero and Dante both had Lucifero's magic, right? Morris and Dante both had Lucifero's magic. And that was just unreal. I was honestly shocked. And of course, with Morris's construction magic and also Lucifero's gravity magic, now we can kind of understand as to why Dorothy lost against Morris. But I wish there was more that we could have seen from her character. But then we go into the Black Bulls versus Morris, and it gets off screen again. It's like, come on, like, I wish that we could have seen the Black Bulls tag team go up against Morris. I wish we could have seen that, but no. We get to see, them getting ready to fight up against Morris, and then we get Yami's flashback, which was honestly a beautiful, beautiful flashback. I love it when we get more stuff about Yami. We've been getting a lot of stuff from Yami in this arc. It's just beautiful. I love to see that. But after Yami's flashback, we get to see Morris defeated, and that was honestly a big letdown. It really, really was a big letdown. And right after that, Lucifero pretty much manifests by, using Morris's magic to, control all of the mid to low ranking devils and just fuse them all together to create this like mush thing of gravity, right? And the Black Bulls had to fight up against it, and of course Asta got a brand new transformation using Yami's katana, and we got to see Asta doing the final blow on this like mush thing of this like creature that was, Lucifero's, supposed manifestation in the progress, right? This was pretty much Lucifero progressing into, his original form. And we can see Asta completely, defeat this version of Lucifero, which is honestly pretty cool. And right after that, we're thinking, okay, is this really how the arc is gonna end? No. This is not how the arc ends, and oh boy. When we get the next scene of this huge reveal, my jaw just dropped. I'm sure you guys know this moment, but I will show you guys right now. Lucifero's appearance. Whoa! Just like the Lilith and Nama's manifestation, the first gate opening, this gave me chills. Like, honestly, like, when I saw this, I was scared. I was legit scared. Like, oh my god, like, we just finished defeating, all these characters, and then right after everything seems okay, you get the second devil from the cliff of tree, and then you get to see Lucifero just appearing. He just appears and bow your heads, and everyone is on the ground. And then, if not to make that even worse, you get to see Asta running towards, everyone see what's happening, and then Lucifero just appears right next to him. And then he just goes like, right, you're going down. And Asta went down, and right after that, he went for a full-on attack in his Devil Union, and Lucifero blocks it. Lucifero blocks Asta in Devil Union mode with one hand. That was terrifying. That was legit giving me Aizen vibes. Like, I was legit scared for Asta. I was like, oh my god, Asta is about to die. He is legit about to die. Because Asta's anti-magic has been able to, stop anyone who's come into contact with Asta's swords, right? Anyone. It doesn't matter who it was up until this point. If you came in contact with Asta, you are finished. And we got to see Asta's display of power when he went up against the first Cliff of Devils. He made them look like a joke. But Asta didn't. But Lucifero, he did the opposite. He made Asta look like a joke. And oh my god, I literally jumped out of my seat. I could not believe just what Lucifero did to Asta in that moment, okay? He just grabbed Asta's sword like it was nothing. Asta in Union mode. He just grabbed it like it was nothing, swiped his finger, saw a small cut, and then bam, you're going straight to the ground. You're done. I was like, oh my god, man, like, such terrifying power. Such terrifying power. But then we get to see the captains go up against Lucifero, and oh my god, what a display of power. Lucifero versus the captains. Okay, so the fight of Lucifero against the captains was honestly a really amazing fight, which displayed Lucifero's overall strength up against the captains, and he was only at 50%, and he managed to do so much Okay, he proceeded to completely body the captains individually, right, like they were nothing, like they were bugs. And if Lucifero was able to do this at only 50%, just imagine just how strong he would actually be if he was at 100% of his power. And he wasn't even fighting fighting seriously. He wasn't even trying when he was fighting against the captains. But thanks to the captains fighting against Lucifero, this allowed Asta to get an opening, and by him getting an opening, he managed to injure Lucifero by cutting off one of Lucifero's horns. And by doing so, Lucifero, his overall demeanor changed. Okay, he completely became a different person, right? He just went crazy. He was extremely pissed off by the fact that Asta, someone with no magic, was able to injure him, right? So he proceeded to stomp the life out of Asta to the point where Asta was almost he was pretty much at death's door. And when this happened, you get to see this amazing moment of all the captains fighting up against Lucifero, them trying to, move Asta away from Lucifero, because at this moment, Lucifero, the only thing that is on his mind is to kill Asta, okay? Nothing else matters, because he quickly realized that Asta is a threat, so he has to deal with him quickly so that Lucifero does not lose, right? He quickly realized this, and this was honestly an amazing moment. Because like I said, we got to see the captains trying to, move Asta away, trying to protect Asta from Lucifero, right? And this was just an amazing moment, because we finally get to see the captains truly acknowledge Asta as a magic knight, okay? We get to see them all acknowledging Asta, right? Which is something that honestly, it was just so beautiful to see, because up until this point, Asta has always been criticized by a lot of people, right? And there were a few captains that, gave respect to Asta. But in this fight, we actually get to see them actually admitting that, yeah, they do respect Asta, they consider him a magic knight. And if this does not prove that he will be the next Wizard King, then what else cannot be better than this to prove that he is the next Wizard King? Like, just beautiful moment. But Lucifero proceeds to completely disrespect each and every single captain when they're talking about Asta. And the moment that made me laugh so much was when Lucifero just bodied Nozel, right? He just smacked Nozel and be like, I don't care about your talk no jutsu stuff. I'm gonna completely body you. Get out of here, right? And Lucifero just saying, move, like get out of the way. I'm trying to, go after Asta. And this pretty much allows, after all the captains were pretty much defeated, Yuno comes in and helps out in the fight. Him and Leona, honestly, this arc is filled with dream-like fights, right? Dream-like team-ups, right? Because never in a million years would we ever expect to see Yuno and Leona fighting together up against an opponent. But we got this. And whilst they were, trying to fight up against Asta, we get to see Mimosa trying to help out Asta, but she runs out of magic. Understandably, she used her ultimate magic, and she, was pretty much healing everyone within the battlefield, right? Trying to heal as many people as she could, right? So she ran out of magic. She could not heal Asta, and this gives us an amazing moment from Seke, okay? Seke, up until this point, he's always been a character that has always been a gag character. A character that many people from the fandom just thought of him as a meme character. Someone that, they could always make memes about, right? Seke Bronzaza, the King of Devils. Seke Bronzaza, the next Wizard King. I've been holding my power for such a long time, right? You know the memes. If you've been on the Black Clover community for such a long time, you probably know of all the memes that, people have created from, Seke's character. And in this arc, in this moment, we get to see Seke's backstory, because it starts to question, why is Asta pushing himself so much to fight up against Lucifero? When all the captains got defeated, why is he trying so hard? And he starts to downgrade himself, to think like, oh my god, I cannot be like these people. No wonder he's able to fight up against Lucifero. He's, a royal. He is the supposed prince of the Spade Kingdom. No wonder he's able to do this. He's so gifted. And then you get to see his backstory and get to see, how he truly felt, right? He felt inferior to everyone else. And by him seeing Asta, trying to fight up against an impossible opponent, an opponent that honestly Asta should not be able to fight against, this gives Seki determination, because he starts to think, hold on, if Asta, someone with no magic, is doing this, why can't I? Why did I never try to be a true magic knight? Asta is a true magic knight, and this gave a lot of development for Seki, a character that honestly didn't even try to put any effort. It seems like just by this arc alone, just by Asta giving Seki a lot of motivation, he is going to allow Seki to grow as a character and to actually become a proper magic knight. And that's honestly something that I'm waiting to see in the next arc of Black Clover. But I wish that we got a little bit more about Seki, like seeing a scene of Seki helping out in some way, like attacking Lucifero, like even if it's just for a split second. I would have loved to see Seki do something in this arc, right? To help out Asta, help out Yuno, help out the other cast members. I was just hoping to see that, but we don't really get to see that in this arc, which was honestly a big shame. But pretty much we get to see all of these characters fighting up against Lucifero. We get to see Marilyn, fighting against Lucifero, and Asta. He tries to join in, right? Even though he was bruised and just beaten up so much to the point where he was pretty much at death's door, right? And Mimosa can heal him, but he still got back up and wanted to fight. And we get to see this amazing moment of Nacht, using his Devil Union once again, trying to stop Lucifero, trying to sacrifice his own life to allow Asta to finish off Lucifero, but this fails. But the person who comes to save Nacht is none other than Yami Sugihiro, which honestly, when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, I jumped out of my seat. I could not believe that we were actually going to get to see Yami in this arc actually fighting up against an opponent, because we saw throughout this entire arc just, the damage that Yami sustained from the True Cliff-Off. It was taking away his life force, his magic, right? And when Yami showed up, I was like, oh my god, how did he get healed? Because he was, not in a good condition whatsoever, especially after, he got released from the True Cliff-Off. And we finally get to see, how Yami got all healed up. And it was thanks to Grey, her using her magic, and by doing so, she was able to heal him. And William, he gave Yami the last remains of his magic, right, to fight up against Lucifero. Pretty much meaning that Yami pretty much had a wooden sword, but this wooden sword was pretty much a mini Tree of Cliff-Off, because, to create the Tree of Cliff-Off, you need World Tree magic and dark magic. So Yami having, this wooden katana pretty much means that he has a small Cliff-Off tree in his hand. I mean, you got to see just how, the effects of the Cliff-Off tree really did to Yami's body. His body was not normal, but this gave Yami a chance for him to, to somewhat hold his own against Lucifero. And we get to see this really amazing tag team moment of Yami and Nacht versus Lucifero. My god, just the spells that they used up against Lucifero, just everything was just so amazing, because their team effort actually managed to somewhat injure Lucifero. Yami was able to cut Lucifero, showing us that Yami, he's the GOAT, and he is honestly the strongest captain that, is right now. The current strongest captain in the Clover Kingdom, right? After this, there was no debate that he is the strongest captain within the Clover Kingdom. And after this, we get to see, Yuno and Asta getting back up and, trying to fight again alongside Yami and Nacht, right? They went to, fight up against Lucifero. And this allows Lucifero to actually acknowledge Yami, Nacht, Yuno, and Asta. He pretty much acknowledged that humans, they have the power to injure Lucifero. They have the power, and this was shown, right? This pretty much meant that Lucifero, he could not play games anymore. He had to go all out and fight up against them, seriously. And we get to see the Spanish transformation, which was honestly really cool, which honestly, I have to praise Tobata. The transformations that he makes for the characters are just unreal. Like, the character designs for all the devils in this arc, all the characters, like, literally, actually, not only in this arc, but literally every single character design in this story is just really well made. And Lucifero's, transformation was just that amazing. And yeah, like, I really liked Lucifero's transformation. And this pretty much led to the fight, of Asta, Nacht, and Yami up against Lucifero, which was honestly a really good fight, which I really loved to see. Which, again showed Lucifero's overwhelming power as he was holding his own up against all four of them, right? And then you get, the moment that we all been waiting for, Asta versus Lucifero. Okay, so in this fight against Lucifero, we get to see Libe's most vulnerable side. He felt frustrated that, he could not avenge his mother, Lucita, right? He's been cursing devils for a very long time, which in turn allowed him to, have anti-magic. And even with anti-magic, even with Asta's help, he still was not able to defeat Lucifero, and he felt like all his efforts were for nothing, and now he was about to die. But we get to see Asta's, an amazing brotherly moment of Asta finding out Libe's backstory, how he met Lucita, his whole life, how it changed by meeting Lucita, and how Lucita was, a mother to Libe, right? This in turn caused them to have a brotherly moment to where they were able to, make a true union mode. They were finally able to do this, right? Which meant that, Libe's backstory was the final piece in the coffin to create a perfect union mode. Because up until now, they've been pretty much using a somewhat perfect union mode. It wasn't a perfect union mode, but it was powerful enough to, fight against strong opponents. But it wasn't perfect. And the reason for that is because of Asta's contract. Asta's contract was a 50-50 contract where they both have to be in complete unison to, achieve union mode, right? And Asta finding out Libe's backstory, this allowed Asta to understand Libe a lot better and for them to, have a goal that they can understand each other and understand why the other wants to defeat Lucifero. This was a perfect point for them to have a true devil union. This made a lot of sense. And in this fight against Lucifero, Asta, after achieving his perfect union mode, which obviously was on a time limit, which again makes complete sense, right? And it's perfect for the story because it doesn't make him broken, right? Because if he was able to achieve perfect union mode and just use it for how long he wanted, that would make him extremely broken. Like, if that's to happen in the future, just let that happen in the next arc, please. But pretty much what happens is that Asta, using his perfect union mode, he's able to reverse the tables to where he's able to completely destroy Lucifero. Okay, he was able to completely destroy Lucifero, right? He was able to defeat him by using his true union mode. And after Lucifero's defeat, this is where a lot of fans got really annoyed by this because Lucifero, he was hyped up to be a really, really powerful opponent. He was hyped up to, to be this extremely powerful devil that if he was to come out, humanity would be destroyed, right? This was all, all the claims that was claimed from Lucifero. And Lucifero, after he came out, he displayed a huge amount of power, but it wasn't to the level where you'd be like, okay, he's powerful, yes, but can he really, do what other people say, that he could destroy the world, right? And, we were all hoping that now that he was, going serious against, Yuno, Yami, Nacht, and Asta, we were all hoping that this would lead Lucifero to use gravity spells, similar to how Dante used gravity spells, right, up against Yami and Asta, but we never really got to see that. And all we got to see is, Lucifero using, just displaying a huge amount of physical strength, but we never really got to see a lot on his magic. And he just started to claim to say a lot of big words, like saying that he was gonna kill the families of Asta, Yuno, Yami, and Nacht, right? He was gonna kill their families. He was gonna kill everyone that they knew, right? This was a really big claim. But after the arc ended, no one really died, because right after Lucifero's defeat, we got to see Mimosa, her using her ultimate magic once again to bring back Yami and Nacht from the death's door, right? They were pretty much about to die. But then Mimosa came in and, healed them, right? And this caused a lot of fans to be really annoyed because this arc had no deaths. No one really died. And a lot of fans were really, really annoyed by this. But honestly, I'm kind of neutral about this whole thing of deaths, because a story doesn't have to be great without deaths. A story doesn't have to be great just because it kills off characters, right? Even if characters don't die, it doesn't mean that the story is bad. And this arc proves that. This arc is honestly a really amazing arc that was full of amazing moments, and this arc was always trending. Every single week, every single chapter, it was always trending on Twitter, either because people loved the chapter or because they hated the chapter, right? And even though no one died, I'm still content because the arc was really, really, well done. And speaking of well done, you get to see Charlotte, confess to Yami, but of course he didn't hear her. Typical Yami faction, right? He didn't hear her confession, and yeah, that was just a beautiful moment, right? To allow Charlotte to move on from now, right? From now on, because she's always been hiding the fact that she loves Yami, but now that she openly stated that, yeah, I can see her character kind of change, and her, being more aggressive towards wanting to be with Yami, now that she was able to confess. But after that, we get into the latest chapter, which I don't know how Tobata does this, but he did it, okay? He made all of the Black Clover fans that were literally about to drop this series because of Lucifero's defeat, because of just how supposedly badly written this arc was, because there was no deaths, right? Black Clover, Yuki Tobata was able to bring all of those haters back into the story with just the latest chapter. One chapter that allowed pretty much all the haters to pretty much come back into the story and, be excited for Black Clover once again. See, the conclusion of this arc, we get a huge plot twist. Actually, we get two. One of them is a minor one, which is, the reveal that Yuno's mother is actually alive. And of course, the big one, which, oh my god, I did not expect to see this. I was honestly not expecting to see this whatsoever, because, my god. So, up until this point, ever since the beginning of this arc, ever since we found that there is another Sagradas sibling, right, that there was, Vanica, Zenon, and Dante, the Sagradas family, and there was actually a older brother, we were always wondering, well, after this arc, what happened to, the brother? People started speculating who the brother could be, right? And we were all very eager to find out who this brother actually was. And a lot of people made a lot of theories on YouTube when, you know, this Zagreus sibling, you know, came into the story, when we found out that there was a fourth Zagreus sibling. But never in a million years would I expect to see just who the fourth Zagreus sibling is. So, get ready. Get ready, because I did not expect to see this, and you're gonna be shocked. The fourth Zagreus sibling is none other than Julius Nova Chrono. Oh my god, what a way to end an arc. God damn it, Tabata. God damn it. Because, like, Tabata, like, for those who don't know, after this chapter, the Black Clover series will go on break for 3 months, right? Tabata is having a short hiatus where he is, you know, having this hiatus to plan for the final arc, meaning that when Tabata returns, it will be the beginning of the final arc, right? So we have to get ourselves ready to say goodbye to Black Clover, probably by next year. But just having to wait for that is honestly gonna kill me. But yeah, like it's just unreal how, like, Tabata did this, right? Because now that I think about it, there was hints, okay? We got hints of this way before this arc, okay? We had the whole fact that, you know, Julius could, you know, turn into an old lady. We had the whole thing of, you know, the symbol in his forehead. Of course, we got an explanation for that, but after this chapter, my god, like, oh, like, there was so much foreshadowing for Julius to be the Zagreus, the fourth Zagreus sibling. So much foreshadowing, and this took the whole community by storm. And I bet that after this chapter, no one is gonna look at Julius the same. I'm telling you right now, no one's gonna look at Julius the same. And it's just unreal. It's honestly unreal just how Tabata managed to bring in all the haters back into the series with just one chapter alone, and then he just leaves her for free, and then he just leaves us for 3 months, leaving us, you know, eagerly waiting to see what will happen next. Like, honestly, this arc was honestly an amazing arc, an arc that I honestly fell in love with, and this, honestly, for me, is peak Black Clover. How will the final arc ensue? That will be up to, you know, for us to find out in the near future. But honestly, after this reveal, my god, I don't think there's anything that can top that. But I'm saying this, but just watch Tabata come back and then just make another plot twist or do something that will divert everyone's expectations. Just, oh my god, this arc was just beautiful. I loved everything in this arc, and I'm happy to finally talk about this arc, because I've been waiting to talk about this arc for a very long time, and especially after this you know, twist that we got in this, you know, in this week's latest chapters. My god, and I'm excited to see how the other characters are going to react to finding out that Lucifero, that Julius is actually the fourth Zagreus sibling. I honestly cannot wait. I cannot wait to see Yami's reaction to this. I cannot wait to see Williams. I cannot wait to see the captains, like all the captains' reactions to all of this, and especially Asta and Yuno, because they aspire to be the Wizard King. So if they have to fight against their idol, I can only imagine just how detrimental that is going to be for them, right? Having to fight up against their idol, the person that they want to become, that's gonna be crazy. And we saw a bit of Julius's power when he fought up against Paltry, where we saw just how strong Julius was. Now we come to find out that Julius is actually the fourth Zagreus sibling, and that, you know, he is possessed by one of the rulers of the underworld, Asta. The Time Devil. Just, oh my god, like, this final arc is just gonna be so hype. I can just tell that this arc is gonna be so amazing. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me, guys. Hopefully you guys did, you know, enjoy this video. Tell me you guys' thoughts on the arc. Did you guys enjoy this arc? Did you guys hate this arc? What did you guys like about the arc? What did you guys not like about the arc? And tell me if you guys want me to make a video similar to this when the final arc of Black Clover comes to an end. Please tell me in the comments below because I would really love to know. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, see more manga content similar to this one, because I know I make reviews on manga. I try to upload daily. If not daily, I upload weekly. So yeah, I know that if you guys go into my channel, you guys will see that there really isn't a lot of uploads. But that's because I've been really busy with a lot of exams and just so much stuff to do with college that honestly I just never had the time to make another video. But yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and I'll see you all next time.